Bournemouth are a point from the top four in January. 581 days ago, the Cherries had sacked Gary O'Neill after a successful season after being newly promoted. The entire country jumped on their case, calling them ungrateful, ruthless, but Bournemouth owners shared a greater ambition that they felt Gary O'Neill wasn't going to match, but the Rayo Vallecano manager would. Andoni Iraola. Fast forward to present day, unbeaten in 11, and Iraola this season has shared wins and draws against Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, Enzo Maresca, Unai Emery, Ruben Amorim, Ange Postecoglou, Nuno Espirito Santos, and now Eddie Howe. He is doing an unbelievable job at the Vitality Stadium and has built a really strong, aggressive and direct side that's very enjoyable to watch, even with a bench full of academy players. So today I'm going to take a deeper look at their 4-1 win triumph at St James's Park. But firstly, his team, his tactics, how they set up at informed Newcastle, the details, the patterns they're pressing, and how they outplayed Eddie Howe's team. Let's go. Now, since joining the Cherries, they have built and developed a highly impressive team. Some of the best performers include Ryan Christie, Lewis Cook, Milos Kerkez, Antoine Semedo, Justin Kluivert, Dean Howson. I could go on all day, you get the idea. And as a team out on the pitch, they are difficult to beat and incredibly well coached and strategic. Bournemouth set up in their 4-2-3-1, as we know. Off the ball, they aim to be compact in a 4-4-2/4-5-1 shape from deep, but then they press high, man to man, be aggressive to suffocate, eliminate the passing options for anyone trying to play out. They do so successfully because they have the third most tackles in the attacking third, most loose ball recoveries in the Premier League, and then after that they have the fourth most shots on target and most long passes attempted, which sends me on to my next point. With the ball, they aim to be intense, constant rotations between players, and they use long balls in behind to exploit the opponent's back line. Often it's Kluivert or Semedo or Brooks who look to attack in between the space of a fullback and a centre-back and run beyond with the ball. They do this as they commit many men forward into the final third, so numerically they always look to outdo the opposition and maximise the full use of movements across the attackers. So when a Bournemouth shirt runs into this area, the fullback may be focused and drawn away by the movement of Bournemouth's fullback pushing up and the centre-backs staying wary of the striker's movement and not allowing him space, meaning Bournemouth's use of movement pins opponents away from their players. Bournemouth build up in a flat back four, mostly in their 4-2-3-1 shape, but when high up the fullbacks like to push up next to the wingers to create 2v1s versus the opposition, giving them either of the two more time and space to orchestrate across. The fullback can also come inside too, not fully invert but drop inside to receive the ball, and then they can push higher into that half space position as a higher rate, creating non-stop rotations which Bournemouth are just so good at. By Bournemouth going more long and direct, it doesn't just suit the group of players that they have, as they're pretty good at retaining the ball, winning duels and high turnovers, but it removes the responsibility of dictating the game in possession and taking more ownership in possession, as by nature they are more chaotic, fast and aggressive. A differing approach to most Premier League sides. It also makes them a constant threat, giving the defenders and midfielders no time to think. Once they enter the final third, they overload the box with 3 to 4 Bournemouth shirts and look to aim for the back post. Now that I've summarised their style and you know what to expect, let's see how they outmatch the Geordies. The opening minutes of the game were dominated by Bournemouth. Their high press was suffocating Newcastle's back line. The pressing was so well coordinated. Every time Lewis Hall had the ball, David Brooks didn't give him a chance to find their wide threat in Anthony Gordon. Every time Dan Burn got the ball, he was forced long a lot and became very sloppy throughout the game because he had no choice. The Cherries forced them back and the Geordies couldn't find a way out. 5th minute, the deserved goal comes. Semedo attacks the space between the centre-back and full-back that I spoke of earlier. Livramento is busy looking at Kluivert's movements. Byrne and Botman were busy tracking at Dango as Christie makes a spot-on pass through to Semedo, who finds Kluivert in acres of space, who puts away the goal. The reason he and even David Brooks is in so much space is because Newcastle defenders were a little bit passive Yes, but because of Altaira's movement, he runs near post, which takes the centre-backs out of the sequence, giving Kluivert the time and space to execute a low shot into the bottom corner, again making the full use of movement. After the goal, the domination remains. Whenever Tonali got the ball, he had absolutely no opportunity to look, let alone take the ball forward. Kluivert's positioning prevented him from turning his body to look for a pass forward, so Newcastle's only outlet was a long ball. This was very impressive because the way Bournemouth were limiting Gordon, Lewis Hall, Isak, Tonali and Bruno was outstanding because these players were in serious form too. 9 wins on the bounce. So Bournemouth had a game plan and it was working very well. Every loose touch, loose ball, long ball their way, they were going to pounce on. And because the players press high, this means that when they win the ball back, even from deep, the players are there, high up, pinning Newcastle back and not letting them escape and push a high line. Now Newcastle did beat the press at times through duels, risky passes or individual brilliance, but Bournemouth got back, and they got back quick in numbers. Semedo and Brooks were practically fullbacks at times as they forced Newcastle out wide but gave them no time or space to actually work with. Newcastle's goal was a great header from Bruno Guimaraes, simple as that. It looked like they needed to be strong on set pieces or transitional moments to score though, as they only generated 0.27 XG in that entire first 45. The out of possession structure was perfect though, tight, compact. Whenever Newcastle made an ordinary pass into space for a teammate, a Bournemouth player would spring out, either winning it or forcing them to release the ball fast, forcing them to play quick, which led to sloppy Newcastle play. It took Newcastle 35 minutes before they realised they had to hit it long from goal kicks, because far too many mistakes were occurring from their aggressive pressing, and whenever Bournemouth had a goal kick, they didn't play into the hands of Newcastle's pressing qualities and also played it long. But unfortunately for Eddie Howe, they were caught out in the 43rd minute. Bruno Guimaraes tries to throw his body into Christie. Christie physically matches him, forces him backwards as another Bournemouth player pounces, and the rest is clinical. Christie was not allowing Bruno to bully him physically by no means, or anyone, as he flattened Lewis Hall later too. Half-time had come and Iraola's side had a deserved lead. The game plan was executed perfectly and Newcastle didn't have answers. The rotational play between the fullbacks and forwards were amazing. The use of movement was genius too. Brooks, Semedo, Kluivert did this exceptionally. Often with Brooks, he drew Lewis Hall away from Lewis Cook, who was at right back this game, to leave him with more time and space to execute a cross when bombing down the byline. As Newcastle got a taste of their own medicine, because that's exactly what Anthony Gordon and Lewis Hall had been doing to teams before. However, the second half had started and Newcastle was still struggling to break free, as Bournemouth kept removing any passes or space for Newcastle to play through. The disallowed goal in the 60th minute was what I touched on earlier. Overload at the back post, any good delivery and you've got a great chance of scoring. The second half kept progressing and Bournemouth was still killing the tunes, with the runs in behind the centre-back and full-back, as they should have had a third. But naturally, as desperation and urgency hit Newcastle, they started to enjoy more success around the 70th minute, where they had the first shot on target of their half. It took them a while. Newcastle tried to pour more numbers forward whilst running the risk Bournemouth kill them on the break, but they didn't find too much success. Livramento's overlaps were being tracked by Brooks keenly, as you can see here. They looked to move faster on the break, but this led to a misplaced pass by Gordon, intercepted expertly by Tyler Adams, as Kluivert unleashed a hell of a strike into the top corner. Game over? Well, not yet. Newcastle continued to pour men forward, but Bournemouth break. Kluivert turns, with Kirkes bombing down the touchline as he smashes it past Dubravka. Now it's game over. The goal for me showed the unbelievable levels of fitness, energy and levels of concentration they have as a team even with so many injuries. They outdid Newcastle strategically and a huge credit is their work rate. They never stopped running. Semedo is a huge advocate for that and his defensive contributions, and overall is everything you want in a winger. So that's how Bournemouth took down the 9 on the bounce Newcastle in their own backyard, keeping all of their big threats quiet as they sit 7th in the Premier League. Personally, I would love to see Bournemouth in Europe next season. They have a fantastic manager who I hope stays, and a great group of players who deserve to be unleashed in the European spotlight. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to smash a like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support. If you want to check out any other videos on my channel, feel free to do so. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.